Hello, and welcome to a video where I talk about the non-ether attributes in this game and where they have merit. Insert a joke about me asking for Anel to make a physical build in his next video, truly the best attribute. Jokes aside, this video is going to be referencing Anel's guide, specifically the assault rifle one, just simply because that's kind of what sparked me, or I guess motivated me to make this video. That being said, he does have it throughout his videos. I think they're overall very good, they're very informative, they serve the purpose of helping people understand the combat system and what weapon strengths are, and of course ether is typically going to be the best attribute due to Core Crusher. However, there are some situations where other attributes can be better, and this video is going to be focused on talking about them. Additionally, the target demographic of this video is also going to be very different. This is not going to be targeting towards teaching people how the game works, or people trying to very beginning to learn the game, as much as it is going to be people who are ready to start making their own builds, start getting creative with their own builds, and start playing around more with this game's combat system. And finally, the last thing I want to make a point of is, yes, especially against things like the Global Nemesis or Heavy Hitter or things like that, ether will always be better. There is simply nothing that can replace Core Crusher in those settings. This video isn't going to be talking about that setting. This video is going to be talking about much more niche settings. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the actual talking points of this video. So the first thing to talk about with this is attribute resistance. So the way that attribute resistance works in this game, both for the player and for the enemy, is that every point in attribute resistance is 1% less damage that you are going to take from that attribute. I'm using Nardakai on the Shadowless here as an extreme example, because he is an extreme example. He has 75 in physical, ether, and thermal, and only 25 in electric resistance, gravity, and beam resistance. Because of this means that he has a 75% reduction, or he only takes 25% damage from the attributes that he has 75 in, and he takes 75% damage, or 25% reduced damage, on the ones that he only has 25 resistance in. Because of this, he takes 3 times as much damage from those attributes that he has lower resistance in, because 75% is 3 times 25% in terms of the damage that you're actually getting through. This multiplier is greater than the 2.5 times multiplier from Core Crusher, so in cases like this, it would make more sense to run a beam, gravity, or electric build over an ether with Core Crusher, because you free up a skill slot and you're getting a higher multiplier out of it. That being said, things like Nardakai are so squishy that it realistically does not matter, and you can just click the funny Blossom Dance button to ignore all of this anyways. But things like this are things that can make other attributes do more damage in certain situations. The other situation where having other attributes could be better would be something like Assault Rifle. Assault Rifle is very devoid of arts that are not thermal. Flame Grenade, Burst Grenade, Quick Cannon, and Grenade Blitz are all locked thermal. Your only options that are not locked thermal are Takedown Shot and Furious Blast, at least in terms of your damaging arts. Assault Hammer and Assault Breaker don't really count for this, and they're not weapon damage anyways. So why would this make it so that thermal becomes better than these other options? Well, again, this comes down to the multiplier issue. Whenever you are running these thermal arts, you get a 4 times damage multiplier from your tertiary cooldown bonuses. And I'm assuming you're going to be in overdrive because this game has a combat system where you click the overdrive button. Whereas Furious Blast and Takedown Shot do not have this. In addition to this, their scaling is pretty poor because they're not really built to be damaging arts. Their damaging scaling is fine, but the other arts like Grenade Blitz and Quick Cannon have them outmatched in that, and they get a higher independent multiplier from the tertiary cooldown than these other arts can get from Core Crusher. Because of this, in cases like this where you just have a weapon that has only good arts that are of a different attribute, it becomes better to use that attribute instead, because it lets you focus in on the higher damage multiplier in the tertiary cooldown. The other thing that comes out of this that's interesting is in the ground gear, you can see I get to run a double attack assault rifle here because I don't care about what attribute it is. I'm not going to get too much into the nitty gritties of weapon traits and weapon attributes for different arms manufacturers, but what's important for this is that different arms manufacturers give different traits on their weapons. In the case of Assault Rifle, as far as I'm aware, the only Ether Assault Rifles come from Meredith & Co., which can only have one of the ranged attack increasing battle traits. because I am running a Sakuraba Industries one, I can get both ranged attack up and ranged attack boost, which gives me higher damage numbers to be working with. And without all that out of the way, we're going to get into the final part of this video, which is going to be my build to kill Gradivus the Headless Emperor far faster than NL did in his video. Again, not to be, oh, I'm better than him, but to kind of give a practical showcase of how this is better and to kind of put into practice why it's better. So, taking a look at my build here, overall it's nothing special. The main things that I get over NL's build is the double attack assault rifle. The other thing that I have that he didn't that I feel like I should at least bring attention to, because it does give me an advantage, is that I am running a Ultra Infinite Ys on my left arm with overdrive count up. In NL's video, he had to put overdrive count up on his weapon just because he didn't have an arm piece like this. And essentially this just lets me slot on one more ranged attack up. This is ultimately not that big of a difference, but something I figured I should at least bring attention to because it does technically give me an advantage over his setup that isn't tied to the fact that I can run the double ranged attack weapon. Outside of that, I'm just running 4 appendage crushers on my knife if you count the battle trait, and an eye patch with another appendage crusher. I'm then running the overdrive gain TP build, and I'm running an aura rapid cooldown chest plate piece just because I wanted it and I figured it would overall help more than a ranged attack up shop gear. Ranged attack up shop gear is fine. The aura rapid cooldown didn't really make a difference. And then resistance reducer TP up on the pants. And that's about it. The only other thing to mention is I have arts gain TP on my knife. This is not really useful at all because none of my arts are TP arts other than my aura, which I think I click like once or twice. So really not a big deal. For my arts, I am running Decoy Round and Power Dive just kind of as filler arts. I don't really click them. They're basically just to help me fix my overdrive count color if I ever get stuck into it being a melee in my art rotation. Full specs is my aura because it makes my damage go burr. Assault Breaker I have on here because it lets me stun Gradivus and basically never have to refresh the topple. Assault Hammer is here to supply the topple. Then my damaging arts are Quick Cannon, Grenade Blitz, and Flame Grenade. Flame Grenade's definitely the weakest of these, but it's pretty respectable 700 scaling single hit for a relatively fast animation. Quick Cannon is twice as strong at 1400 scaling for a fast animation, and Grenade Blitz is a 3-hit 500 scaling art for a total of 1500 scaling, but the animation's a bit longer. You kind of get to see what the art rotation I use is in the combat. I'm not going to commentate over it, and you can just kind of watch the video if you're interested in what the art rotation I end up coming up with is, and the fight takes about 2 minutes on my end. So if you want to see it, it's not too much of a commitment. And then for my skills, I'm running Combo Gunner. Supreme Sword would also be fine here. I just put this in here because it's a just any additive boost. I actually do think that based on my art rotation, Supreme Sword would have been better, but it's not that big of a deal. I also have Topple Toppler to reduce the topple resistance, grant possession for the overdrive gain TP build, secondary accelerator because for the art cycle that I use I do need a little bit faster cooldowns, and boosted bullets to boost my damage. The last thing that I kind of really want to bring attention to is that in some of Vanel's videos he brings up that using other attributes you can run into the issue of breaking too many appendages. And I just kind of want to make the point that I believe in this video I only break 1 appendage, I might break 2. But I'm pretty sure that if I recall correctly, Gradivus has 5 appendages of hardness 0. Examples like Farsis as well have I think 4. So you're not really ever at that much risk of breaking all of the appendages on these enemies, just simply because their HP pools are so big compared to their appendage HP that they have, that it's just not really a risk that you run into. And the final thing that I want to mention is that, again, my build is a bit more optimized than NL's is because I kind of took some time to really put together what I feel is a pretty decent build for this. So my battle ended up being about 2 minutes, whereas I think I looked back at NL's and it was about 10 minutes. So yes, Core Crusher is not the end-all be-all in all situations. It will usually be optimal, but there are niche situations where other attributes can shine over it. With all that out of the way, I'm going to head off and play the battle. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you are not as familiar with this game, that you might have learned something. And I'm also going to link Anel's videos in the description because they are very good. and watch those if you are new to the game and somehow you found my video before finding his. With all that out of the way, I'm going to head out. See you guys next time.
Hey, hey!